everyone. It is with immense pleasure that we welcome Umesh sir for our America's Compass podcast, and we'll be discussing Trump, Trump's presidency, and it has been well over 1.5 months. We are going towards the second month of Trump's return to the White House, and today we'll be working on a lot of, we'll be discussing a lot of topics. So, just a brief introduction about sir before we proceed further. He has been the founder of India Chronicle, wherein he is also the editor in chief, and he has been a geoeconomics and geopolitical analyst since quite a long time. He has his own channel. He is pretty active on LinkedIn, wherein he has a lot of followers, and his commentary on geopolitics is something that global intelligence and the people working at global intelligence reckon with. So, thank you for giving us your time, sir, and welcome. Hope we have a very good discussion today. So, welcome, sir.
Yes, Yaram.
Jai Sri Ram, sir. So, first, we'll start with your initial remarks on Trump. Uh, we have seen that it's almost 2 months to his presidency. So, we'll start with your first thought, sir.
See, the world has changed after January 20th. So we are seeing a lot of changes. And this person is like a disruptor. And Donald Trump presidency will be known as Trumpnomics or Trump region, or it will be the era, like we say, era after Trump, era before Trump, something like that. It will be such a game changer. And already, if you see, 50 days have passed, and March 20th is also coming. 2 months will elapse in another week. But we have to understand that it will be 1,461 days of Trump presidency, and it's hardly 50 days. And he has turned the world upside down. And to start with, he is trying to figure out uh, what is in the best interest of America. And most importantly, what is in the best interest of his MAGA supporters. So he is acting like I believe the first 100 days of any presidency is very much important, and it caters to your electorate. So Trump is acting in a way which is actually good for his own electorate. And if you see his foreign policies, they are designed and to actually achieve what he has promised during his campaign. He's doing everything. He even nominated his cabinet well before that, and he is very clear that if he is elected the president, and these all persons will be with him in his cabinet, and he created the DOGE. And in I remember previous presidents, the first lady who used to have very much precedence. For the first time in America, we see the first buddy is having a precedence, and that brotherly bromance is coming up. And many Trump critics say that Elon Musk is an unelected president. And if you see right from the start, Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk both were scheduled to head the DOG. But uh, Vivek Ramaswamy made some remarks about H1B visa and why it is necessary. And he mentioned about how America has not been able to keep up the meritocracy. So the MAGA supporters went after him and he had to resign. People say that he had to resign because many of the critics of Elon Musk had actually tried to sabotage his chances and other things. So best thing he did is he resigned from the DOG and he went back to contest. He will be contesting for the governor post of Ohio, and he has got the blessing of both Trump and Elon Musk. And if you see Elon Musk, in spite of having many things like Tesla, Starlink, Neuralink, he is at the receiving end. And many of the Democrat-based NGOs, non-profit organization, activist groups are now targeting his stores. Such is the problem that law enforcement agencies are now guarding his stores. His sales have rapidly fallen down across the regions. If you see in the United States or Germany or China or Netherlands, everywhere it is falling down. And its share prices have also fallen down like anything. Like in 1 month, the 500 USD became like around 225 or 230 USD right now. So what is happening is Elon Musk is actually bearing all the negatives, all the fury of anti-Trump protest. So he is actually guarding Donald Trump. And I'm really thankful that Vivek Ramaswamy is not in DOGE. I believe that if Vivek was in DOGE and Trump had rested uh, Elon Musk, Vivek would have presented arguments and facts which would have helped the Trump presidency a lot. But the problem is the MAGA supporters are not do not have the reasoning capacity. They cannot. These guys cannot digest any criticism. And if you see, even if when Prime Minister Modi ji went to White House, in front of everyone, to the he wanted to show to his MAGA supporters that he had even censured Prime Minister Modi ji by calling India tariff abuser and high tariffs and other things. And a few days back, just 1 or 2 days back, the White House spokesperson, Caroline Leavitt, again stated that India is a tariff abuser. We are putting 150% tariff on wines. We are putting 100% uh, tariff on agriculture products. And I think previously the Commerce Secretary stated that if India wants to have a better relations with uh, America, they should abandon de-dollarization. And they should go for defense requirements from America, and they should completely remove all the tariffs. So what I believe is Trump also stated something. He has exposed India. So I believe that this what was expected from Trump, that he will be a supporter of India. It is very dicey. We cannot predict it because on the one hand he has granted $397 million to Pakistan for maintenance of S-16. On the other hand, he expects India to buy the same F-35 from the same Lockheed Martin. And it's really contradictory approaches. My belief system is he wants to set an example with his MAGA supporters that he has censored India. But what I believe is we need to put out facts in front of the Americans. They have to realize it. Like in India, 700 million people, that is twice the population of America, are dependent on agriculture. Okay, in America, it's just 700 million people who are dependent on agriculture. With they are having per capita income which is 20 times, 30 times more than India. We cannot sign a debt warrant of India for the Indian farmers for the benefit of American farmers. Okay, they need to understand that. The MAGA supporters, I would like to say very empathically that they are crazy enough. Okay, they don't realize what is in America's interest. Indians make around 1.5% of the American population, and they contribute 6% of the tax revenues. And when they go there, they are compliant citizens. They create jobs. They follow the rules. And if you see lot of the top executives, whether it is from Microsoft or Google or Adobe, they are all Indians. I don't know why is that Donald Trump cannot see all these things. And I believe one more thing, that his sanity should return to him. And in his administration, there would be sane people like Marco Rubio or JD Vance who would understand that all these things cannot work. If you see, Tulsi Gabbard is attending the Raisina Hills dialogue very shortly. Okay. And followed by there will be a visit of JD Vance with Second Lady Usha Vance as well. So some sort of reapproachment will be given. I think India has been very much considerate, and in the budget, we had reduced the tariff as well from many products, and we have addressed the American concerns also. Such is a thing that the Indian opposition parties are now crying foul about Tesla's re-entry, Tesla's entry into the satellite low Earth orbit internet connectivity in India. Both the companies, Geo and Airtel, have now agreed to distribute uh, Tesla's products. And if you see, uh, uh, Airtel is having a stake in OneWeb, which is a direct competitor of Tesla. So what I believe is Tesla is coming into India, Starlink is coming into India. We have addressed the concerns. Okay, I think there has been some reapproachment which has been done. But what we have to do is we need to now put up facts. We need to say this Americans just because of your just because you want to satisfy your crazy MAGA supporters, you are actually risking American security right now. Because on the one hand, you are giving doses to the Pakistanis who had defrauded you by keeping Osama in Abbottabad, and they were trying and they were getting aid from you. They were sharing intelligence with the Taliban, and these Taliban had earlier targeted American soldiers only. So it is like a duplicity. We have to say that very vociferously. And one more thing, if you see in America, lot of things are being designed where anything you say against the Jews, it is being considered as traitorship. But we saw how an Indian origin nurse was targeted. One student was killed also. Why are voices not being raised by the Indian community, by the Indian diaspora? I don't understand that. We need to project, we need to show power strength. That is lacking. We are being a compliant citizen, but we cannot take all the rubbish which has been thrown by president and his associates. And specifically, I would say that Ludwig and the Caroline Leavitt, they need to understand that they cannot just repeat and parrot the words of the president. They should be reasoning. Otherwise, they would lose the respect in the eyes of the Indians.
Sir, reasoning has been uh, quite missing from what we see from the White House since last like 50 days. Your answer touched upon a lot of points. We will go one by one across all the different regions. So first, let's touch upon North America. We have seen retaliatory tariffs on Canada. We have seen Mark Carney coming in as the new prime minister. He has been very vocal that Canada won't be the new state of USA, and the Canadians will have their own sovereignty. We have seen that tariffs have followed after that remark. Then Mexico, the border has been strengthened. The Mexican president also reimposed a few troops to the southern border of the US, which is the northern border to the Mexico. Then we have seen Panama. Marco Rubio himself went down there. The Panamanian leadership made it clear that Panama is not up for sale, so they will address American concerns about Chinese companies, but they will not uh, let the Americans take over the entire canal. And the fourth important territory in North America is Greenland. So we have known that Greenland, Trump has had personal interest in Greenland. He has personal property. He also tried to get Greenland within the American state or the empire in his first term as well. So let's touch upon these four countries before we move to the broader area like Europe, West Asia, and the subcontinent. So your remarks on Canada, Mexico, Panama, and Greenland, sir.
Yeah, first I would start with Canada. It was really astonishing to see that the head of the country, Justin Trudeau, was addressed as governor of Canada, and openly stating that it should become the 51st state of America, and uh, and he gives a logic that we will take care of everything. You are very much dependent on a lot of things. Your trades are with America, so it's better you join there. And I believe that he will create so many problems that someday America, I believe in future, this is my view, that in someday in the future, there will be a referendum in Canada, which will be asking them whether they want to join the American Union or not. And if the voting percentage grows across the 50% mark, the borders will be changed and Canada can become the 51st state because this guy is unrelenting and he has even stated 2 days back and he has made his intention very clear. And the problem is the Canadian leadership. They don't have the nationalism in Canada right now. Justin Trudeau, what he has done, the uninspiring leadership he has given, such a way that Khalistani extremists are now have now been have a say in the Canadian government, the Jagmeet Singh gang. So what I believe is the Canada itself is weak internally. Maybe they look very strong as a country and other things, but holistically and other things, in a very short moment, I think within this second term, there is a likelihood and possibility of Canada being merged with America eventually. Maybe something will be progressing. And next, let me come to Mexico. See, a lot of people from Mexico are crossing the border and they are entering United States. And Trump is very much vocal about the Mexican drug lord cartels which are operating and they are selling the fentanyl, which has actually destroyed the American youth. What I believe right now is that Mexico will be complying to all the directives issued from Washington, and in future they will act as a subservient of the American administration, where which they will be carrying out all the resources, all the American investments from China will be actually shifted to Mexico, and Mexico will be doing all the labor and all the dirty jobs, blue collar jobs which were earlier done in China. And we see it right now, Mexico is one of the largest trading partners. And now coming back to Panama, if I'm correct, BlackRock has now taken over the stake of Hutchison from in Panama, and now they are having some controlling stake. So whether the Panamanian leadership will follow the directives of the White House, whether whatever they can cry, they can scream, but whatever America will say, it will be done. And coming to Greenland, I really laughed at the things that we will get you at any cost. Okay. In his joint interest to Congress also, he gave the statement that was very hilarious. But anybody who knows Trump, whatever he says, he does it. So he will do any sort of trick. And there were elections which were happening in Greenland, and I do not know the final result, but initial trends predicted that pro-US pro-US supporting group was actually leading. And what will happen is they will show an what you say imaginary threat from China and Russia to ensure that the Greenland comes in American territory, and the entire American continent becomes the United States of America. And the major point is Greenland is having lot of rare earth minerals, and which is very much important for the next generation growth for lithium batteries or semiconductors or anything, because you know that China has banned many minerals like germanium, antimony to America.
Yes, sir. So, according to various studies, around $30 trillion worth of rare earths and unexplored energy reserves are present in the Arctic. So, the argument that Trump has is that if you have to lower the deficit, lower the US national debt, and you have to make it sustainable in order to generate enough money to service the debt every year, you need access to more resources, which is how he's looking. He's looking at the entire map as the classic geopolitical game of risk, wherein you place your assets on different territories and try to gulp up as many resources as possible from those territories to boost your economy. Pretty much why NATO has been militarizing with the Russians. The Russians are pretty much ahead than the Americans or the Europeans when it comes to the Arctic. They have built ports, they have well built military infrastructure in the Arctic. In the half part of the Arctic where the Russians have their own
Icebreakers,
control. Yes, sir.
icebreakers. They have built icebreakers
Yeah,
also on.
nuclear fleet of icebreakers, sir.
Yes,
Plus, they have a floating nuclear power reactor as well in the
yes,
Arctic. The
yes.
Russians are pretty much ahead than the Americans. And for all the viewers, I've just written a book on Arctic. It's called Strategic For in the Arctic. How Moscow, Washington, Beijing, and New Delhi looks at the Arctic, and it's available on Amazon. So the overall study is that American wants Russian support in the Arctic. But that brings me to the other question. Scenario in Ukraine, sir. This is completely your personal assessment. Where do you see NATO's future?
See, I see NATO's future will be remaining intact, but what we'll be having is the Article 5 clause that would be amended. Okay. And first of all, NATO would be asked to up their military budget from the existing 2% to 5%. And whichever countries are not providing that thing, they would be asked to leave or something. They would not be serviced that thing. And second, I believe one more thing is NATO will be the thing of equality with that will go. The America will enjoy the sole veto power. And even if the Europe is trying to delink themselves from NATO, it is very difficult. If you see in the NATO systems, everywhere you find the American companies, the five American companies holding critical advantage. Whether if you see the communication systems, if you see, even if you see just like that F-35, everybody is using F-35. Sweden have their own Gripen. But what
Yep.
they are doing, they are doing nothing. They cannot make their own things. They are offering the planes as cheap as $700 million to India that you buy it. But India is reluctant because ultimately you need to buy the engines from either of the three persons, Rolls-Royce, GE, or Safran. And France, definitely France is well ahead of others. They have built their own military industrial complex. They have Dassault, they have the submarine makers, they have the nuclear weapons, but they are not big enough as America. Okay, so France has around 250 nuclear arsenals. America has 5,900. Okay, America has the largest fleet. Okay, there are 800 military bases, overseas military bases of America. So they are placed everywhere. Okay. And they have the nuclear arsenals placed everywhere. It is very difficult for the EU to actually delink themselves from NATO. Maybe they might be having an 800 billion armaments program, but how will they carry out? Okay. In the meantime, if there's something happens to Europe, there might be a new threat. What will they do? Ultimately, they will have to come back to America. They will have to agree for the American dictate, and whatever Donald Trump says will have to be followed. 5% will have to be given. And you can see he did the same thing with Japan. He said that we have only signed a political agreement with you. It is not legally enforceable. So whatever we are thinking, that is not true. What is America is interpreting, that we have to see. And how will America become great again? It is only by trampling the sovereignty, by trampling the rights of other countries, like you have stated, that gobble up resources as much as you can. Use all the tricks of the trade to coercion, to negotiation, to persuasion, open threats, trade sanctions, tariff sanctions. And if you see the Ludwig today also he told that we are 29 trillion dollars economy. Everybody wants to do business with us. So why should we be worried? Everybody
As
will have to tailor make their things according to our demands. So America, what it does is it thinks that due to the hegemony of printing the dollars and people investing in the U.S. Treasury bonds, they have the clarion call of dominating, impeding the sovereignty of other countries. They can think so. That's fine. They in a short term, definitely they have the power. They have the soft power, but they have forgotten one thing, but you cannot you are what you are doing is you're creating an anti force against you. And if you see EU president Ursula von der Leyen, she came to India with 27 commissioners, and next day you saw the Belgium princess coming up, and she signed a pact with the Pune based company for producing the components for the Zorawar tank, and she's hoping for a comprehensive military partnership, production, localization, IP right transfer to India, and setting up the military industrial complex in India. And I think France is also interested. They have offered that we are ready to produce our entire assembly line, additional assembly line in India to service the orders, not just from India, but even from Indonesia or any other countries. So the British are here, sorry, the Belgians are here, the French are here. I think sooner or later Germany will also come. Then you will have the Swedish companies are also lined up. The British are very much eager. The Rolls-Royce, they are very much eager to provide us with the next generation fighter aircraft technology as well for that for uh, for the engine technology also. And sixth generation fighter aircraft, they are inviting India to be part of it so that the cost can be shared. So I think 6 to 7 countries. I don't remember the other two countries. Italy is also very much
Italy and
interested.
Japan as well. Japan is
Yes,
also.
yes. There are two competing programs which are happening in sixth generation fighter aircraft. Both the formations are inviting India. So the thing is, India is being very much sought for, and Donald Trump is. If you see right now, Donald Trump is doing what Modi ji is doing: make in India, make in America. We have given PLI scheme. He started the CHIPS Act. He is asking the automobile industries to locate back to US. And now when we started the shipbuilding, he also made a special ministry in the White House to start again the commercial and military shipbuilding in America. So in a way, America wants to collaborate with India, but it sees India as a future threat also. So my point is, NATO will exist. This cannot be disbanded, as anybody can say, because lot of interlinking is that real-time intelligence sharing, and I think lot of things are not in the public domain also. Okay, so people are not aware what are the security guarantees and other things which are being tailor-made by America, because you know that after Second World War, the entire European continent was destroyed and America was the only country which had the resources. So they rebuilt the European Union. So they would be having some clauses which would be to their advantage. Europe may cry of independence, sovereignty, and other things, but I think it has become a vassal state of the continent has become a vassal state of America.
Which is what even Putin has also referred to. You made an interesting point with regards to France, and I was going through a data set few days back, and this was very startling because if you look at the French, and your point is pretty much on point on this, that the French are building their own military industrial complex, and this is not something that has happened since like 15-20 days ago. They have been building their own military industrial complex since a lot of years. They have they were not
Yes,
part of NATO from 1965 to 2009. But if you still look at this data set, you will see that France has been contributing just 1.47% in NATO. So
yes, you are absolutely right.
they are
French,
not taking NATO seriously. The Germans are not taking the NATO seriously. The Italians are not taking the NATO seriously. Only countries that are taking NATO seriously are the Eastern European countries that actually need some kind of deterrence to fend off the Russians. Meanwhile, when you look at any attempt made by Trump to delegitimize NATO's expansion, you look at countries like UK and France in particular, to jump up and say that we have to create our own European army, European political community. We have to rethink European defense and stuff. But they are not investing in NATO. They are investing their money in ramping up their defense, but they are not investing in NATO, which pretty much shows that there is lack of trust in NATO from the French side, at least.
you should be aware of the AUKUS deal, which was done by Australia. It was
Yes,
earlier with it was done. It was scheduled to be done with France,
France.
and France was very much livid. And now, if you see, Australia, when they asked about the submarines, the US themselves said, "Where we do not have the necessary submarines because anything can happen with Taiwan, and that time we need our fleets." So Australia has been left high and dry. And if you see, few years back, the fighter aircraft, the American fighter aircraft, they were having some problems, and the entire software had to be recalibrated. The F-35s. So a lot of problems are there with NATO, and they lack the trust. And they are now feeling that they do not have that operational sovereignty. They are dependent completely on the Americans, and I believe that French are actually taking a lead in the European Union. But if you see the comments of Le Pen, he is not very much keen for the French providing the nuclear arsenals to Europe. And she has been very categorical that she does not believe that EU will be lasting in its present form for a very long time. She sees that EU might crumble in its own weight. And if you see the popularity of the AFD party in Germany, a lot of things state that EU in the present form looks very much difficult. There has been a rising problem of immigration from the Middle East. The social fabric of EU has been finished. If you see even UK. The mayor of London is a Pakistani, Sadiq Khan, and the Labour Party, and even if you see, Donald Trump has stated on record that in 20 years, the UK might become a Sharia nation. It might be the first nation, European nation, new Muslim nation with nuclear arsenal. So one thing is, I think so. Eurozone will continue in its present form, and this is my thing that this is my feeling that Putin, Russia, and Trump's America, both of them are going to align together. And if we see right now, few 1 hour back, Putin has agreed for a ceasefire, which was very unlikely. From which, if you see, Zelensky making a statement that we will not be recognizing uh, Russian territories occupied and other things. But what I think is Zelensky might be replaced very soon, and uh, and I think Trump has agreed to most of the Putin's demand of keeping NATO out, and the $500 trillion of the freezing of Russian assets, they are likely to be restored. And if it is not being restored, then the next casualty will be the next major differences between America and European Union will arise about freezing and defreezing of Russian assets
Sovereign
that, that has been confiscated by Berlin, by the by the Brussels group. Okay,
Brussels.
so that is going to be the point of contention. And if you see the SWIFT network, it is being operated in Europe. So, and for that also, I believe that both Russia and America have already started an alternative. And Putin has already built a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and Russia has also allowed some reforms in the cryptocurrency. And in future, if the things are not resolved, I think that the SWIFT network, which is being controlled by EU and other things, they will go down the drain, and the state will all the states will be using Bitcoin, because something right now Europe will have to understand that if they want to survive, they will need to accept America's hegemony, exceptionalism, unconditionally. The White House will dictate the terms, and not the Brussels and any other officials there. And whoever is behind those officials, they will have to ensure that things are being followed.
So we just saw the drama unfold at the White House between Zelensky and Trump few days back. And post that, we saw that the Americans freezed military supply to Ukraine. Plus, they stopped intel sharing for a few days as well. But and if you look at the timeline very specifically, you would notice that the duration in which the Americans stopped uh, let's say imagery intelligence or intel sharing on different forms, including through Maxar. We have seen that the Russians launched a special unit to reconquer the lands in Kursk region,
Yeah.
which was lost to Russia, and which was, by the way, demanded by Zelensky to be a tit for tat kind of a swapping mechanism for the new territories that the Russians have taken. So the Russians have had long talks with the Trump administration. How far do you think that the Trump administration is colluding with the Russians to just sell Ukraine off? I won't say with dignity, because the Americans have a long history and a habit of selling the countries they have been supporting once their mood changes. But the timeline is very skeptical. They stopped intel sharing, and the Russians relaunched a special unit, and they actually got Sadza back just yesterday. So, where do you think this goes ahead?
Okay, first of all, I would like to give a context. The MAGA supporters, generally people are saying that they are Orthodox Christian Bible following electorate. And if you see the Russians, they follow the Orthodox Christianity. So what I believe is the far right Christian supremacist of America and Russia are aligning together. And somewhere down the line, I believe that both the countries do not want this the virus of liberalism, wokeism, secularism, and all the isms which have been which all these viruses which have come from Europe, which has destroyed the American economy also and American society also, where which the transgender rights and all this LGBTQ drama were propagated, all were thrown out in the dustbin on the first day itself. So what I believe is they are trying to restore what the Bible is preaching, and the supremacy of the Bible will be established because both Putin and Trump have the same thought process. Both have divided their area of influence because Arctic, I think, I've been divided, and now I think both of them have agreed that let United States take over Greenland, and Russia will have the undisputed access over the Arctic with I think so the other Arctic states, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, they will fall into line. So what I believe right now is the close cooperation between Russia and America is happening, where which Russia is being freed from Chinese influence. You know, many people have been saying that China is a senior partner and Russia is a junior partner. But I believe one thing is both the Americans and the
Yes.
Russians have planned for a Soviet-style implosion of China. The one thing is 3 years back, Nancy Pelosi flew to Taiwan. Okay, then the militarization of South China Sea started. The Chinese economy started suffering, and you saw the defense budget of China rising. So what is happening is your defense budget is rising, your economy is crumbling, your reality sector is crumbling, your banking sector is crumbling, you are having a stagflation there. So what is happening internally, things are not right in China. There is being a social discord. And Russia knows that China is dependent on all its resources. Russia is a very small economy, 12 to 13 crores people, one-tenth of the population, and 7x the size of India. So much of resources. And the population, the economy is just 2 to 2.2 trillion only. But still, the Russians have the nationalism with them. They have the foresightedness with them. They know how to fight long, enduring wars. And Americans understand that there is no point of fighting with Russia. They need to collaborate. And what is the best thing they are doing is they are forming their own sphere of influence in which Americans are waiting for an implosion of European Union and the Russians are waiting for the implosion of China. This is a strategic thing, and both if the issues of Russian freezing of assets are not resolved, you will find pervasive usage of bitcoins, of cryptocurrency, and in which if you see the Americans have already created strategic Bitcoin reserve, and they have declared that Bitcoin is digital gold.
With regards to the Ukraine minerals deal, the Ukrainians have a draft that how they can get hold of some money for redevelopment in exchange for the minerals that they have. If the Americans don't sign a deal with the Ukrainians tomorrow, they can take the same draft to the Europeans who are also interested in exploiting the minerals. But the Europeans can't guarantee security on ground the way the Americans can against Russia. Also, Americans don't have access to the sovereign assets that the Europeans have. So I totally agree with your point on Russian sovereign assets. It is still a very uh, I would say underestimated topic, but it holds immense potential to seriously create a rupture between America and Europe on the policy to end Ukraine war. Because at the end of the day, you will have to decide on what to do with those $300 billion of sovereign assets. And the
It
Russians
is
consider this
it is
as,
it is actually 500 billion. If you see the all the embassies and all the assets of the private oligarchs, the state assets are 300 billions. The assets of private oligarchs is around 200 billion. So it is roughly around 500 billion. And you are very much right. And I believe that whatever the Americans gave $350 billion as grants. Now
yes.
this president has converted it to as a debt, and If people are saying that 40% of the agricultural land of Ukraine is already with BlackRock, and the Ukraine reconstruction will be given to American companies, the European Union might be barking. It's like a dog which is barking more rather than it can bite.
Hmm.
So they they will be preaching, they will be having the summits, but I don't think so anybody is taking them very much seriously. Uh, this is what my observation is.
Perfect. Let's and it was a very comprehensive discussion. Let's move to West Asia. Because it's again a happening part of the world. We have seen Hamas agree to a deal with Israel on 19th Jan. Then we have seen a lot of hostages being released. Then we have seen follow-up discussions wherein Egypt, Qatar have played an important role. Trump has written a letter to Khamenei, which was delivered through UAE, which has now been delivered through UAE. They want to restart nuclear talks. We have Egypt and Jordan who have said that we won't be taking the Palestinians in. That Trump released his own vision for Gaza, the way he released his Trump peace plan, the peace plan of the century, with in collaboration with his son-in-law Jared Kushner. So it has been a wild ride in West Asia as well. What is your take? It's a very simple proposition for Trump going into West Asia, that he needs to build on the Abraham Accords. He needs to get Saudi Arabia on board. Even if it takes 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years, before his term ends, he wants to take Saudi Arabia on board the Abraham Accords and wants to normalize relations between Israel and Saudi in a hope that it can grant him some kind of a Nobel Peace Prize and stuff. Your initial thoughts on West Asia and how the region has reacted to Trump, and how Trump has delivered his policy in West Asia in the last 50 days, sir?
First of all, the first call after swearing in, Trump made to Mohammed bin Salman.
Mm.
And if you see, Saudis immediately agreed to invest around $600 billion of their foreign assets in U.S. Treasury holdings. And the case of Adnan Khashoggi and the Democrats who were after MBS, I think that is a history. And you are very much right that Trump wants Mohammed bin Salman to be on board to sign the Abraham Accord. But the problem is the Gaza solution, how it is going to come, because Trump sees Gaza as a different property. He wants to build a Riviera, like something like Dubai and something. And even if he says that even if you want to remove all the debris and munitions, it will take 10 years. So I don't know how things will going to play and plan out. But one thing I see that the people of Gaza will be ultimately moved out in due course. And the Sinai Peninsula, which is now in the control of Egypt, that may be used as a point to establish the Gaza land. That is only viable solution. I see that.
But
Okay.
I've been having talks with some of our Israeli counterparts as well, and they've vouched for this idea that Palestinians should leave the land, because this entire cycle is a vicious cycle. It does not result in anything. They should go to Egypt. They should go to Jordan. But when you look at the Jordanians, their point is pretty much logical. If you look at the demographic status, around 35 to 40% of the country is already made up of Palestinian refugees that have come flowing in since 1948 from the West Bank. So if you add 7 million more refugees from the West Bank, because if you look at the Palestinian population, we have 2.3 million in Gaza and around 7 million in the West Bank. So if you add those 7 million into the Jordanian territory, it becomes Palestine in Jordan. Basically, the Jordanian monarchy will lose its power. So the Jordanians are not agreeing to this because of the demographic thing. The same thing Trump has been doing in his own country. He is removing all the people who are not American citizens and illegally staying in the United States. But he is trying to enforce some other people on some other country just for his own grand vision of a Middle East Riviera.
See, that is what I can say. The Jordanians are not agreeing. Ultimately, first is the 2 million residents of Gaza will be moved out. They will be asking a Palestinian territory. You will be asking for a Gaza land. You will be asking for a Palestinian land. Where is the land? It is the Sinai Peninsula. Ultimately, it will go to that only. I believe that. And it will take some time. And if you see the Syria, in Syria also, uh, the things are not looking good also because the rise of radicalism is there. And with respect to Iran, I think that both Russia and China will support Iran. And I definitely both of them will not like Iran to have a nuclear weapon. So some sort of concessions will be coming. Some breakthrough might happen on those fronts. Things will stabilize, I think so, because people will understand that world war is not a solution anymore. Uh, so West Asia, mostly it will be like de-radicalization will be followed, and the concept, the Greater Israel, the concept of Greater Israel will come into play, and Gaza will be merged into Israel in due course, and this the residents of Gaza will have to go to Sinai Peninsula. You don't have any other land there. Okay. So ultimately, all the Arab states will have to agree because America will be saying either what you do is every state, all the Islamic nations, take around 30,000 people of Gaza, and this is what I think will be a solution. Either take on a pro rata basis or give the Sinai Peninsula. This is what I believe is can happen. Rest all the negotiation, the drama, the dramatics, the peace plan. It can happen in Cairo. It can happen in Istanbul or all this dramatics. Let us keep for the leaders. They need the optics.
Dramatics is pretty much necessary part of West Asian politics. It doesn't work the other way around. It's very much integrated in how West Asia lives. Sir, before we go to the conclusion, I would move to only one last part, which is China. Uh, you mentioned about how to stop the Chinese growth, economic growth, the way Soviet Union was uh, dealt with. But if you look at the Brezhnev years, the 16, 17, 18 years of Brezhnev regime, uh, hardly you would see Soviet Union making any economic progress which was more than 2%. It was basically GDP progression of 1 to 2%. Uh, with regards to China, given just the size of the economy, at its peak, the Soviet economy was $2 trillion and it was growing pretty slow, 1 to 2%. Given the magnitude and the size of the Chinese economy, which stands at almost $20 trillion, it would still be very long and pretty hard than what it was to break down the Soviet Union. With regards to this, how do you think the entire thing of using sanctions, tariffs, or trade war, how do you think this will play out on global economy, not just America and China relations, but the two most important trading partners if they fight an economic war? And given that you are a geoeconomics expert, before we move to the concluding part, please shed some light on geoeconomics of this great battle.
2008, if you remember, that U.S. economy was around 15 to 16 trillion dollars. There
Hmm.
was a subprime crisis. The total of the subprime crisis was around 3.2 trillion dollars. Many investment banks like Freddie Mac, AIG, Lehman Brothers all collapsed. The U.S. government, what it did is all the debts of investment banks were taken into sovereign because the U.S. economy was 15 trillion. It could absorb all the Wall Street losses as sovereign losses. So now coming to China, China is around, you told 20 trillion. Today also they are growing at 5%. They are releasing the figures. I do understand that they are a superpower in. They are having the nuclear bombs as well. They have the sixth generation fighter aircraft. They have the largest military fleet, the naval fleet on the planet, the largest force on the planet, and they are doing superficially well in AI. software, like if you see the DeepSeek and Magnus, some things have come out with their growth in the cloud computing, quantum computing, rechargeable batteries, solar module systems, battery cars, new gen. Okay, fine, everything. They have a control over all the rare earth minerals, 95, 100%. They say it's China only. But one thing you forgot is the debt to GDP ratio. The
Hmm.
debt to GDP ratio of China is around 300%. And many people are actually overlooking this fact.
Hmm.
But if you see, there were articles published in Nikkei Asia which is saying as 288% 2 to 3 years back. There were articles which were published in Reuters which says it's 300%. And if you add the Chinese debts, the household debts, the state public sector debts, and the debts of the local corporation, the special purpose vehicles they made for financing the reality boom. You add up everything, it comes around 52 to 53 trillion. If I do the mathematics, I do not have the things right now, but when I add everything, it is 53 trillion. It simply means that to generate $1 of additional GDP output, you need to pump $3 in the Chinese economy. And you know that China provides export credit to companies who export. So somewhere down the line, they must have accumulated those losses. If you give the grant to your companies to export, you give them in the form of export credit, grants, or something. Somewhere down the line, that figures must be there, where it is. And in the last 20 years, China has grown exponentially. So imagine whatever is their exports. So they are actually, many countries are imposing tariff around 20 to 25%. Means that they provide 25% export credit to
Yeah.
their exporters. So you just need to total out all the exports for the last 20 years. And 25% you just mentioned as a loss. So
Yeah.
lot of things are there. If you see the reality sector, Evergrande has gone busted. The Vanke Group has gone busted.
Country
Con-
garden.
Country Garden, Fantasia Holdings, they
Hmm.
have gone. The population of Shanghai has shrunk from 2.6 crores to 2 crores,
And it's a
which means
big concern because they've invested a lot in real estate, and now there are ghost cities. People are not
51,
having credit to buy.
51 ghost cities. And also
It's
there is a ghost city which is name of in the name of the Jinping itself, Xinjiang something. Okay, he spent around $100 million, I believe, and nobody is interested in taking that. The banks are
are not
at
having kids. People are not having kids in China. Uh, parenting is has become tough.
yes,
Disposable household income is getting lower.
yes. So a lot of problems are there. And one more thing, you have 17 neighbors. Apart from Pakistan, everybody is your, you have territorial disputes with everyone. So how long you can stretch? When there is a problem in the South China Sea and Himalayas together, can China withstand? It's not possible. They have created a charade that we are having this. The propaganda campaigns are good. They've bribed all the papers like Washington Post and everything. They don't publish those real reports. In 2020, there was a report in the Economic Times which states that 4% of the gold reserves are found fake. Tungsten was found in the gold reserves. You can't believe the Chinese data. People say that their economy figures are also very much uh,
Manipulated.
compromised. See, the 5% growth rate, it comes by 1.5% is coming via export. The remaining 3.5%, you cannot believe. The Chinese consumption says that it is 2.2% growth,
Hmm.
and the investment is around 1.3%. People are not very much sure.
It's a lot of currency manipulation as well.
Yes, that's only I'm telling you. No, the currency manipulation is there. The export credit they give, somewhere down the line, they are the. And also, if you see the CPEC failure, the failure of the BRI initiatives, they are now keeping the Hambantota port. They are keeping the Gwadar port. They are keeping any other port. What is the benefit they get? They are getting nothing. You might be surveying towards India. Okay, fine. In India, there are many people who are already giving up secrets like anything. You don't need to have a base in Hambantota. Okay. All these things are power projections that we are doing this. We are creating all these things. India is also doing. India is selling arms to now Vietnam, Philippines. They
Bench.
are in talks with Indonesia. We are now having the Prime Minister of New Zealand is coming to India on 16
Yes,
to
yeah.
20th. Australia has prepared what you say economic engagement roadmap with India. Quad is being resurrected. The Indian Pacific Economic Forum that will also come into picture. So my belief system is China is having a lot of problems. That data can that something it happens. Who will actually take the Chinese debt? Like 20 trillion, 30% of the economy is reality. So 6 trillion is there. And if the Chinese subprime crisis, if it comes, who will be able to absorb that? And the US subprime crisis was $3.2 trillion with US currency being the reserve currency. It was absorbed. Fine. But the Chinese subprime crisis should be around 5 to 6 times more than the US subprime crisis. How many people will be surviving that?
And the Russians won't be amongst the first to help,
Now the
irrespective of
Russians,
what.
the Russians, I believe the Russia is one of the most richest economy in the world. With just $2 trillion of economy, they have the resources. The Attics are with them. They have already 11 or $12 trillion of Ukrainian resources, plus their own resources.
Despite thousands of sanctions, they still have one of the lowest debt to GDP ratio in the world.
14 to 15%.
Yes,
15% is GDP ratio. Where will you get?
which is excellent economic planning. The
Yes,
best use of national champions, all the national PSUs that you use for natural resource extraction, the best use can be learned from Russia.
and if you see Russia in 1991-92, they actually collapsed. You
Hmm,
remember the ruble rupee agreement. It
hmm,
was India that bailed out Russia in
hmm.
1991. Many people are not aware. India, being a developing country, bailed out the superpower, falling superpower Russia. During that exchange rate, India could have settled the debts at a very less rate, but the ruble rupee agreement was signed and the debt was renegotiated from 35,000 crores to 31,500 crores. So if you see at the time, we had mortgaged our gold. Okay, we were in a precarious situation. Then we bailed out Russia. Many people are not aware of these facts. They say that Russia helped India in 1971. No, there is no, from our side, we never say that we helped Russia. But that is the case. I believe that we have done that.
Hmm. And we have been time tested strategic partners with Russians,
We
and
are, we
they
don't,
acknowledge
we,
this fact.
we don't do reverse engineering like the Chinese. And if you see that the Russians have imposed scrap tax on the Chinese cars, and now Russia holds around $150 billion of Indian rupees. Now they want Indian investments in the country.
Far
So
East.
Rajas and I think so. Russia and India will have to work towards investments to reduce Chinese investments in Russia and replace it by India. It is going to start very soon.
The way they were doing, Yamal was given to India and Sakhalin was given to China. So they attracted all the investments in these regions from these two different countries. But the Russians have a very good understanding of how India looks at its strategic interests, irrespective of who is in power. And the Russians tend to make their policy very accommodative to where India is heading. So they are good buddies as far as like we have studied and we look
Uh,
at the world is going.
I can only one say one thing. We need to be very careful. We should not be enamored by Russia's thing. If you see, there has been a close cooperation which is happening between Russia and Pakistan. Russia is considering investing in their largest steel mill. There is a talk of if
Yes,
Karachi Moscow rail line, and there is a talk about Russia supplying S-350 systems, missile defense systems to Pakistan. There is a talk about Russia giving drones to Pakistan. So I believe only one thing: we should look for our strategic interest. We should uh, see what is best in our interest. And if you see the fifth generation fighter aircraft, we invested $300 million, but we refused because the Russians were not accommodative at that point of time. Now they are offering Sukhoi 57 and all these things after 6, 7 years. So lot of things are there. I would like to reserve my comments right now. Things are happening good. Russians are understanding the importance of India very late. Uh, but should we wait every time so that we make the other party realize our importance? I don't think so. It should be that we should be doing some straight talking right now. Because we cannot wait for your understanding. If you are doing it right now, you do it. Otherwise, we are going to other. We have to see our interest.
Understood. Thank you for your insight, sir. It was a very good discussion, and thank you for joining this late at night after a hectic day that you might have had. So, we touched upon a lot of points. We touched upon West Asia, Ukraine, Europe, Americas, global institutions, geoeconomics, and I still feel that there's a lot there's a lot happening around the world, and there's a lot we can keep discussing as we keep uh, experiencing how the world works.
It's
So
just it is just 51 days of Trump's presidency,
yes,
and you have another 1410 days. So lot will be changed in another 1410 days. So watch out. This man is definitely going to change the way things are going to happen. Business are being conducted. The global institutions will be realigned. The partnership will be realigned. A lot of interesting things are going to happen. We are on the cusp of a change. We are very much that after 1945 we will be seeing some sort of a dramatic changes. We might see close to war situations. We might have an economic meltdown like 1935. We might see crypto going to 10x of the present value. We might see a stock market falling by 90%. We might see the great reset. Everything is possible in the
the
next
great
one decade.
reset. Of course, the great reset wherein people want to rethink capitalism and the
Yes.
entire model of capitalism. It's
So
interesting, and sir, as you just said, we have 1410 days. We would absolutely love to have you again on Global Eye, because this was a very enriching discussion, very insightful discussion, and a candid discussion wherein we did not have a script ready, but it went pretty well. So, looking forward to have you share your insights more with different sets of panelists next time, uh, so that we can have more deep rooted discussions on geopolitics, sir.
definitely we would meet again, and it's the Trump presidency will definitely make us meet again and again because we are going to experience a lot of new changes. Deliberations will be required. Today, if we are saying anything, and 12 hours later, what anything can happen, it can change our thought process. So nothing is constant. You need to. I would request everyone to download Truth Social and every day morning read the Truth. Tweeted by Donald Trump. So this is going to be your all the geopolitical analysts. Anyone, I think everybody should follow him for the next 4 years.
I've
So
actually done this. I've actually downloaded Truth Social just for Donald Trump.
yeah, even I have done that. So so that's the way I follow him regularly, and
Yes.
let's see what's going to happen. So it was a very enriching discussion. Loving it to join once again with lot more things, exciting things. I don't say that things would be good or bad, but it would be exciting. It would be a roller coaster. Once in a lifetime journey, we should be enjoying it. This is
Yeah.
what I would say. Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Siya Ram, sir. And this is what geopolitical, passionate people actually enjoy. It's a roller coaster ride, and we are excited about the future. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.